no more, no less than that. Nothing should be gratuitous just to sell more copies. Nothing should underplay it because it makes us squeamish. If the story requires it, they'll be in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't trying to be like gore for gore's sake. We were very like conscious about, like Neil's talking about, like everything has a purpose. It's not just to be graphic. It's not just to get an M rating. As a matter of fact, we never set out to be an M. Or for us, I guess for you, Peggy 18. And it was what does the story require? And that's the world that we created, and that's the kind of brutality and the kind of mature themes that the story also required. And I'll speak personally, when you ask the question, like, what was it like? It was fucking daunting and scary as hell. I mean, Uncharted, come on, it's like one of the better games ever created. You're like, okay, that game's pretty fun. Like, how do we, like, match? I just want to match. Can I just get, like, near it? Like, what do we do with that? So, on a personal level, yeah, it was pretty scary. But at the same time, it was a privilege that Naughty Dog gave us that opportunity, and working with literally some of the most skilled people in the world. That's pretty amazing.
Any more questions? Come on, somebody put their hand up there.
Just a quick nerdy question on the cordyceps situation. Obviously with the ants, you see them climb up onto the leaf and then they sort of effectively they die, they go to sleep, and then the spores disseminate on top of the rest of the colony. Was there a fictional conceit that you used to get from that situation to one where instead of basically lying down and going to sleep and becoming this infectious agent, you all of a sudden become a homicidal maniac and basically do the exact opposite, where you become incredibly aggressive?
So obviously I wasn't involved in any of that. So that's your ballywhack.
Obviously, we made some conceits for gameplay and to build this world, but at the same time, we've put a lot of thought into the progression of this thing, and they do have a stage when the infection gets far enough along where they lie down, become part of the environment, and release spores into the area. You won't see them in these demos, but that does happen in the game.
We also grabbed ideas from like Dr. was talking about with, there's a book on rabies, and this idea of, right, it's again that uncontrollable fears, uncontrollable like mechanisms that the idea of a human biting another human and transmitting the virus that way, or in our case the fungus that way, and knowing that the fungus actually, cordyceps are actually in the bloodstream, like at least that was our conceit. We didn't know. We're just like, I think it sounds cool, and so we just took a little bit from here and there and different sort of, medical journal studies, books, things that we've kind of, Neil read a book on polio, and we brought all this kind of information together and kind of like took bits and pieces of what sounded like logical enough to say like, it's scary and plausible and it makes for good gameplay,
So I'd add to that and say, I think what the developers have done really well is sort of intuitively get on to what actually happens in biological scenarios when you have a parasite jumping from one species to another. It doesn't keep all of its toolkit, it keeps part of it. And when it's jumping, for example, in the case of toxoplasma, from the rat into the human, it's still dealing with a mammalian brain, and the behavioral changes are not exactly the same, but rather similar. And so all of that is terribly plausible then for me, and I don't think there's much conceit there. I think it's really interesting. Incidentally, some of the historical examples of mania in Europe, St. Anthony's Fire, or in Europe, in the US, the Salem witch trials, they came about when humans ate infected rye, because in the rye was a fungal parasite. And the reason the fungal parasite was there was protecting the rye plant or the grain plant against herbivores. When we accidentally ingest this, we go crazy. And the reason why is because it's producing LSD. LSD comes, the derivative of LSD comes from this fungus, which is in the same group as cordyceps. And so it produces hallucinations, and that's the Salem witch trials. The last case was in 1954 in France, when someone sold infected rye on purpose. They just wanted to get away with it. And there was cases where a 12-year-old girl took a kitchen knife and tried to kill her mother because she was hallucinogenic, because she had just taken lots of LSD. So definitely, I think there's a lot of intuitive model to get there, and I think that kind of speaks to the sophistication of developers as well as the audience, which I think is cool.
Go find some right.
Right part of the
I'm conscious of the fact that we're actually running massively behind schedule because the presentation started a bit late because somebody forgot to bring the videos. So yeah.